What's good, Savages? Welcome to another episode of Blue Collar Sports. I'm Savage Paulson, and with me, as always, is the Carolina Reaper of sports talk, because when he gives his hot take, it burns so bad you can't forget it. What's good, Zach?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I had a buddy. It's funny you mentioned the Carolina Reaper. He apparently bought a bunch of Carolina Reaper peppers and was like, I have to hear about how hot this Carolina Reaper pepper is. And he's now apparently he had a not great batch because he had it. He felt nothing. He felt nothing in terms of spice. Nothing. So I'm like, clearly you had a bad batch, because every time I've heard of somebody that had the Carolina Reaper, one of my old work colleagues, Steve Bunda, he actually ate a Carolina Reaper pepper on the air. And and he was not a fun time for him.
Yeah.
So.
I can only imagine. I've never had one. I'm not too good with spice. I'll eat an jalapeno, and that's too much for me.
You feel it once you have the jalapeno?
I can only imagine if I ate a Carolina Reaper. I mean, the thing that scares me the most, it's on its way out.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
It's like we've all had too much hot sauce and some hot wings, and then all of a sudden you're like, next day you're like, "Ooh, I forgot I had some hot wings last night." Kind of reminded of that. I can only imagine when you're eating Carolina Reaper and all those super hot peppers. Forget about it. Oh, man, there's a lot of talk about this week. A lot of stuff going on in the NFL. The MLB playoffs are underway as we speak today, Tuesday, September 30th. There's already 2 or 3 games done. And now I think Boston and the Yankees are in the bottom of the 8th right now, 2-1 Boston. We'll get into all our predictions and all our previews for the MLB playoffs. But first, let's get into all the NFL news of week 4, our reactions and all the things that happen. There's a lot that happened. And I kind of watched a lot of football. I was at home. I did have a baseball tournament this weekend, but it was local. So I did have some time on Sunday to watch some football. I woke up early to watch my Steelers beat the Minnesota Vikings in Dublin, which I was very, very happy. Let's start there. Actually, I'm going to ask you, because I had it written down here, with everything that's gone down with the Bengals just sucking right now. Like, yeah, we know Burrow is not there, but they played really bad yesterday. It was really bad against Denver. With the Ravens, pretty much decimated on defense. I think their whole everybody, I think they had 6 players leave the game. On crazy. Sunday. It's like, I think it's insane. Do the Steelers have a legitimate chance of winning their division?
I think they do. I think especially with the way that the Bengals are playing, and they don't have Burrow for a while, and Browning has not really been coming up to task for this Cincinnati Bengals squad. They never had the greatest defense to work with in the first place. So with the way the Bengals are, the Browns are the Browns, so we know that that's not going to be great for them. It sounds like I saw a report that they're going to make a switch and go to Dylan Gabriel to start for the next game. So that's going to be interesting, yeah.
So that's one step closer to Shador starting.
That's right. We'll give Dylan Gabriel a couple of games, see how he does, and then we'll go to Shador. Oh, wait until Shador hits the field, and then you're going to get a bunch of people there. They're going to go crazy for that. There's going to be fireworks when it comes to that. I think the one thing we'll have to figure out, and I think it could tie in with some of the Ravens conversation as well, is, the Ravens have looked not so great so far. Right. Now, I think some of that I will leave it for some of their schedule, because they've faced some pretty tough teams in the last couple of weeks. Obviously, they started the year with
probably the toughest schedule. Bills, Chiefs,
They took on the Lions as well.
Right.
So 3 of the 4 teams that they faced off are teams that I think we would all consider top level teams.
Absolutely.
And the team that they beat were the Cleveland Browns. So,
not a top tier team.
Not a top tier team, as we're learning. Somehow we're able to beat the Packers, but I think it's pretty fair to say that the Browns are not really that elite level team.
Right.
And so when you look at the schedule that they face, and yes, we know with the Chiefs, they were coming in 1-2 and they were looking to try and get a win. And they were beating the Bills at one point in that game before that dramatic comeback.
Yeah.
And, it was close with the Lions as well. It's not like they've been absolutely decimated by these top level teams either. There was a little bit of a shot to the pride when it came to the Bills game, not being able to close out, and certainly with the Chiefs game as well. That
Right.
was not the best performance they were looking for. So it really goes back to maybe this defense with the Ravens, the way it's just been physically shot. Like we keep joking on the show. Eventually, they're going to throw us out there on the line and see if we can rush to the quarterback. That's how dire it's getting. But for your Steelers, though, I think if they could stay healthy, it seems like Aaron Rodgers and DK Metcalf have started to really click and get to some chemistry going. That 80-yard touchdown that DK had as he was going through. I don't know if you saw that seconds before. It looked like he had Rodgers had one of those smelling salts as well before. Before he threw the ball.
He's like,
so I'm sure that helped a little bit as well. But if the Steelers could stay healthy and Rodgers could be, efficient. I don't think this is. I think we could both agree this is not the MVP Aaron Rodgers, but this is still a very efficient Aaron Rodgers. And I think if he plays within that offensive system and utilizes the weapons around him, if the Steelers can remain consistent, I think there's a chance they could win the division. It depends on really how far Baltimore can drop off. So I think that's going to be the big question.
Because it's really only Baltimore I'm worried about, even though they're decimated. It's still early on right. It's still early on. Even the Bengals. I mean, we can talk about them in a little bit. I had them here in my notes, but I liked what I saw from the Steelers. Definitely enjoyed seeing Rodgers and Metcalf really going at it and meshing together. I really enjoy that. And like you said, I don't think Rodgers is at the MVP caliber, but I think he's good enough to win you a playoff game right now. Like if everything stays, again, injury free, the defense keeps playing like they're playing, I could see a path where they win at least one playoff game. So another thing I saw this weekend that I really like was Kenneth Gainwell.
Yeah.
Finally, they have a running back that seems, because look, the running game was not hot last year, and it was a big reason why they were stuck with Russell Wilson just throwing moonshots after moonshots and not able to convert on, third down. And it was just, they didn't have a running game. And now, that kid scored 2 touchdowns this weekend. So was rushed for 99 yards. Not crazy, but 2 touchdowns still, So if they can get the running game going and Rodgers can stay healthy and him and DK Metcalf can get going, and I like their chances right now, especially with everything going on in their division. I'm really, really happy for my Steelers. Sticking with their divisions, let's keep talking about we've talked about, the Ravens. We saw what's going on with the Ravens. Even Lamar Jackson leaving the game with what is an apparent hamstring injury. I don't think it's that serious, because we would have heard about it by now if it was serious. I think what's most concerning is the defense right now in the Ravens. Like, you're going to need, if the defense is going to stay what it is right now with all the injuries, they're going to need Lamar Jackson at its best. They're going to need 40-plus points pretty much every game in order to have a chance to win these games. I'm not sure about their schedule coming up, but I know Pittsburgh has a bye next week. If I look at the Ravens are playing, who are they playing? Why am I can't see?
They're taking on the Texans.
Yeah, the Texans. So maybe, the Texans are 0-4, 1-3. 1-3. They won their game. Yeah, they won their game. Let's talk about the Bengals. The Bengals in their division as well. My big question with the Bengals after what we saw from them this weekend is, we know Joe Burrow is out for at least 3 months. So Do you think the Bengals should go and get a quarterback? I think, look, they looked horrible from what I didn't watch the game, but
Yeah.
I heard the comments made by Joe Buck and Troy Aikman after the game and how disappointing this performance was. Do you think the Bengals need to go out there and get maybe Russell Wilson that seems now to be on the bench, or maybe even Jameis Winston? I'd love to see Jameis Winston in a Bengals uniform, just chucking passes to Jamar Chase and all
Yeah.
these guys. What are your thoughts on this? Do you think that the Bengals are going to make a move, or they're just going to just wait it out until Burrow comes back?
I think they'll give this a couple more weeks. You don't want to give up on a guy too soon. You want to show that you have some confidence in him and say, look, you might have the one bad week. And they've had Jake Browning in that system for a long time. I can as a Dallas Cowboys example, I could say that, Cooper Rush was our backup quarterback for so long and he just knows the system. And
Right.
they were able to figure out stuff with Cooper Rush when Dak went down. So that's kind of what they're hoping for with Jake Browning. But you are right, though. I watched that game, even though it got so bad at one point where there was so many penalties out on the field that even Aikman was like, man, the product is really bad right now. Can we please stop with all of these penalty flags that are being thrown? It
Right.
was not a good night for Monday Night Football. And one of the big stats that came out of that game is, other than the opening drive, the Cincinnati Bengals never had an offensive possession in Denver territory, which is just crazy to think about.
Wow.
Like that's just how unproductive. That's just how unproductive the offense was for throughout that game. So, yeah, I think they should be, keeping that in the back of their minds, though, where this is a team that's built to go into the playoffs. Like the defense isn't that strong, but clearly they've invested a lot for this team to be competitive. And
Right.
if they feel like, I think it depends on where they're at a few weeks in. If they kind of realize that the season is lost in the next 2 weeks, I think they're not going to make the trade to get a quarterback. Now, if it becomes iffy where it's like they win a couple but then lose a couple and they're like, oh, if we could just get more stable QB play, then maybe they could go out there, like you mentioned, get a veteran QB like a Jameis Winston or a Russell Wilson and take them through. But I think right now they're going to stick with Jake Browning. He's a guy that's been in their system and they've used him before in the past, and he's not looked particularly amazing. But with a lot of these quarterbacks, like I mentioned, sometimes you got to give them time and show that you have confidence in them, and then
Right.
eventually, after a couple of weeks, maybe if he doesn't improve for certain, they would at least look at a change at that QB position.
They got the Lions, the Packers, and the Steelers next.
Whew. Tough
It's
schedule.
rough. That's tough.
Tough schedule.
Tough. My camera's moving. I'm just gonna try to get this.
No worries.
It's bugging the shit out of me. It's not working. Yeah, I think their schedule is kind of rough. You got the Lions that seem to be playing really good football right now, and then you got the Packers that are, a really good team, and the Steelers. That's 3 tough teams. I guess you'll see after that. You got week 5, 6, and 7, and then they're probably going into a bye after. Yeah. Then then after that they'll have the Jets in week 8. So maybe the New York Jets by then they'll buy a win. But yeah, I'm with you. Give it some time. You don't really want to make a move if you know there's absolutely going to be no chance. If you go through these next 3 games and you can't win one and you end up being 2-5, not much bringing in a Russell Wilson or whoever is available out there to try to help them out, it's probably going to be rough.
Yeah. And plus, a lot of these teams now, they value their draft capital a lot more than they did in years past. I think you very rarely see them now get away from, we're going to trade for this guy mid-season, because they do value the 4th, 5th round pick, because those could be depth guys on your roster.
Absolutely.
So I think, and especially for aging veterans, I think that's what people are starting to realize. You see a lot of these trades that go down where it's like, oh, this, just as an example, the receiver, DeAndre Hopkins, he got traded for a 5th-round pick, if I recall, and people were like, "It's DeAndre Hopkins. Like, how could he be traded for a 5th-round pick?" But the way that it's valued in the NFL, it's like, well, at that time, DeAndre Hopkins was 30, 31,
Right.
an aging receiver, and we could probably find a depth receiver like him through a 5th-round pick as well. So, you, at that point, you're just kind of investing and hoping that he can tap into that high-level talent that you've seen from him in the past. So, yeah, all that to say, I think they value draft picks a lot more nowadays as they did in the past, and where they could just find a guy in the 5th round that could fill in a role.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, Ravens start the season 1-3. Oh, we spoke about the Ravens before. Why did I look at my notes? New York Jets. Let's talk about the New York Jets for a little bit. 0-4. And every time I seem to be talking about the New York Jets in these last few years, it's just despair after despair after despair. I don't think there's been much going well from Aaron. I remember when Aaron Rodgers signed with the Jets, everything was like, woo. And 5 minutes into the season, he tears his Achilles and everything goes to shit. And it's been a while since the New York Jets were relevant. Mark Sanchez, they made the playoff with Mark Sanchez. I think that was the last
Rex
time.
Ryan is the coach, and those defenses were really good. Yeah.
Like, I had high hopes simply because I really wanted Justin Fields to show something that someone saw, to be able to draft him where he got drafted, and all the hopes he had in Chicago, and that didn't work out. Then he went to Pittsburgh and he was doing really well, and then he got benched for Russell Wilson, and we all know how that story ended. And now he's with the Jets. Looked really good in week 1 against the Steelers. I mean, it was a shootout. Steelers won, but I remember saying, like, yeah, man, they looked really good. I mean, I even picked them to upset the Bills in week 2. I was so confident they were going to just ride that wave of momentum from the first game, and things haven't really worked out for them. Like, what coming from someone that really understands the game of football more than I do, like, is it at this point a lot of it in their heads of like, oh, I'm playing for the New York Jets, like, shit, things are just going to go to shit, so I might as well just go along for the ride? Or like, or is it something more in depth? Is it management, the way that the team is run? Like, why can't the Jets just, because they got, if I look at their rosters, they have good players.
Oh, yeah.
They have good players. Garrett Wilson, Justin Fields,
Breece Hall's a great running back. Yeah.
What? And yet they can't seem to buy a W. Like, what do you think's wrong in New York right now?
Man, if I knew what was wrong in New York, I think they would pay me millions and millions of dollars and have me on their staff. I think the big thing with New York, with the Jets for so many years, I think obviously the reputation precedes them when it comes to just, it feels like it's misery being a New York Jets fan,
right,
and being in that building. I think ownership has always been questionable in New York. There was that story that was released, I think, a few years ago now, where it was being discussed that they were using Madden ratings when trying to they were listening to the owner's son, who was mentioning Madden ratings when they were thinking of bringing in Jerry Jeudy. Like, that's just kind of the state of the New York Jets, right? Like, it's just not great. Now, I will say, in defense of the Jets a little bit, I think the losses that they had, you mentioned with the Steelers, that was a close loss, and then the Bucks as well was like a last minute loss as well.
Mm-hmm.
And the Bills was like, that's just like, it's the Buffalo Bills. They look great right now. I'm a little bit hesitant to say they're the best team, not because of their record or anything like that, but you look at the teams that they've beaten with the Bills. It's like they've beaten the Jets, they've beaten the Dolphins, they've beaten the Ravens, who are 1-3. And there's another team as well that's like, it's not the greatest team that they beat. And they beat the Saints this past week. So we're not exactly talking high level teams here, but good teams beat the bad teams, as I always say.
Right.
And that's the case. In the case of the Jets, like, I was interested to see what Aaron Glenn can do with this squad, coming from the Detroit Lions and being under that system with Dan Campbell and big motivators and really trying to get this team locked in. And it seemed like the team was locked in and buying into the vision from Aaron Campbell or Aaron Glenn, I should say, for the
Mm-hmm.
first couple of weeks. But yeah, I don't know. It's just tough. It's sometimes it's just a vibe, right? And you can't really
Right.
explain it. There's just this dark cloud that hangs over the New York Jets organization. It's been like that since the last time they went to the AFC Championship with Sanchez.
I know they're all professional and we're just out on the outside looking in and we have access to all the all the shit talking that goes on that comes
Yeah,
along with being a fan and following the sport. And I'm sure a lot of the players in the New York Jets organization probably like don't listen to all that shit. They're professionals, they just show up to do their
yeah,
job and everything. But it's extremely hard to stay away from all the noise.
yep,
And I haven't heard any good noise, if we can call it that, uh, out of the organization in a long, long time. So it sucks, honestly, because like I said, I think they have a lot of talent on that team. And Aaron Glenn, I thought, was gonna help put that talent together in a way where they could be competitive. And
mhm,
again, they've shown that they can be competitive. They just can't seem to just get over the hump. Starting the season 0-4 is probably not where Justin Field wants to be right now. Like
yeah,
he's trying to prove that he is an NFL starting quarterback, and the issue becomes it might not be all of his fault, and then he might be at the end of the day, at the end of the year, if they only win a few games and still miss the playoffs, then it'll be like, well, what's next? You know what I
yeah.
mean? He signed what, a 3-year contract, I believe, with the Jets, if I'm not mistaken.
I think it was
So
a 2 year contract.
two
I think it
two
was a
year
2 year
right.
contract.
So as much as I want to see them succeed, simply because I think at the end of the day, the franchise and the fan base deserves to see some winning football because you've seen some losing football for a long, long time.
Boy, have they
Yeah,
ever.
right. And it's not just losing, but sometimes losing in the worst possible way, where it's just like
Yeah.
I saw actually no, I saw something else, but I have to remind myself about the New York Mets before we
Oh,
when
yes.
we talk about the because
I think I know what you're talking about. I can't wait to talk about that in our baseball preview.
fuck, if there's ever one team that just gave it away this year was the New York Mets. It was
Yeah.
crazy, but
Yep.
yeah. Look, I hope the New York Jets can turn it around this season and start winning football games because it's going to be a long season in New York for just not just Justin Fields, but all the talent that they have on that roster.
Yeah.
Um, Another game I kind of watched on this weekend was the Chiefs and the Ravens. Now, I'll go straight to the point. Are the Chiefs back, or were they just beating a Ravens team that was just decimated with injuries and bad luck?
I think a little column A, a little column B. I
Right.
think I wasn't ready to wave the white flag on the Kansas City Chiefs quite yet because number one, it's still Patrick Mahomes and it's still Andy
Absolutely. Look.
Reid, and that's a team that they have proven us wrong many times before. So I
Hmm.
wasn't willing to wave the white flag on them quite yet. And I think one of the big things that's happened with the Chiefs is they don't have their top wide receivers available to them, and they're still
Right.
having to deal with that. When Tyquan Thornton is your number one option, other than Travis Kelsey, you're
Right.
not going to have a lot of recipe for success, even if you have Patrick Mahomes as your QB. And so, having said that, though, I think Kansas City came in and they were like, you know what, we're tired of hearing the noise, and we need to go out there and beat this team in Baltimore and show that we can still be the Chiefs. So I think it's a little bit of, the Chiefs kind of realizing their backs are against the wall a little bit, and they have been able to overcome
Right.
obstacles like that in the past. So I think the Chiefs are I think it's partially the Chiefs are back, but also I think that Ravens defense, like we mentioned earlier, is just in a different state right now, and a lot of concerns there in Baltimore. Not really fun to be a Baltimore sports fan right now with the way the Orioles played this year, and now how the Ravens are looking so far to start off their year.
Right.
So that's how I kind of view it.
I agree. I think the Chiefs were just like this was a game where they're like, listen, we're going to show you we're still the Kansas City Chiefs and we can still be an elite top team in the
Yep.
NFL. And I wasn't expecting them to just lay down after getting creamed in the Super Bowl last year. I think a lot of people were like, that's it for the Chiefs and da da da. And I think you still, when you have Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid on the sideline, like every game you have a chance. And you're going to make the playoffs, and once you get into the playoff, then it's a whole different story. So I don't know if I want to say I'm glad to see that they kind of shut people up a little bit after this week. I'm sure some people are probably saying, like, a little bit of what I said is, well, it was still the Ravens. They're 1-3, and their defense is pretty much a college defense at this point with all the injuries and guys that had never played in the league before. But
and quickly, just to mention too, like, you could just see, like, I'm just looking through at the receiver stats. Like, now you have Xavier Worthy back, 5 catches, 83 yards. You have Hollywood Brown back. I know there's a lot about Hollywood Brown in terms of his ability to catch, but I think in the role that he's in with that Chiefs offense is perfect for him. 3 catches, 38 yards, a touchdown. Juju Smith-Schuster's on this team.
Yeah.
And, Tyquan Thornton is like now way further down as opposed to having to be the number 1 option while he was there. So you kind of look and you realize, like, even the best quarterbacks need some receivers to throw to, right? So, like, that was the big thing for the longest time before Aaron Rodgers left for New York. It's like, hey, Devontae Adams is gone. I don't want to train with all these young receivers. Like, I need some talented guys around me that I have chemistry with so that I can, be at my best. So that at the end, it goes back to, Mahomes needing his receivers. Josh Allen will eventually need that number 1 receiver that he can rely on. He's been able to work with it right now because he's got solid enough receivers to get by. But eventually, like, the depth will show when 1 or 2 of those receivers goes down, and you realize, like, that we're kind of screwed with when these guys go down. So that's how I kind of view it there.
Are things looking up for the New York Giants now that Jackson Dart has started a game? I mean, the kid looked good. He looked good, and they got their first W of the season. I don't know what else to say. They beat the Chargers that were 3-0. I mean, it's a legitimate win. Jackson Dart went 13 for 20, 111 yards, nothing to call home about. 1 touchdown, 96 passer rating. He played great. He seemed to bring a lot of energy. It was definitely disastrous to see what happened to Malik Neighbors and the season-ending injury that he suffered. But things seem to be looking up a little bit in New York for the Giants with Jackson Dart now in the fold, in the mix.
Yeah, I think we'll see. Losing Malik Neighbors is going to be real tough for that team, because that was really their primary
especially
option.
with this rookie quarterback now that seems to be the there until he loses his job, right? But again, you lose your number 1 wide receiver the game you make your first start, you're probably going to have a lot of rope, to play with. They're probably going to be a bit more lenient on when they want to pull the plug. I mean, they made the move, they put him in the game. I think he's in there till the end of the season. I don't think they'll be going back to Russell Wilson or Jameis Winston unless something catastrophic happens in New York.
Of course. Yeah.
Right.
Also not good to be just any sort of all-pro wide receiver right now. We saw with Tyreek Hill yesterday that gruesome injury that he had as he was being carted off. It was just I remember watching that live on the TV and seeing the way the leg was. Oh boy, had to turn away for a bit, and shocked how he was able to take that. But Neighbors, that's a big loss for them. And you look at their other receiving options: Darius Slayton, Wan'Dale Robinson, Theo Johnson. Like, all the stars are here, as Norm Macdonald would say. Like, there's not a lot going on when it comes to this Giants outfield, this Giants wide receiver core. I will say, I think the bright spot that's not getting talked about enough, even in the losing ways, is I think they got a running back there in New York in Cam Scadaboo. I mean,
Yeah.
he's a fun little running back. I don't want to give too much praise, obviously, because it's a division
Yeah.
rival. But
Right.
you know, you go back to his time at ASU with Arizona State, and
Yeah.
he was a fun running back to watch when he took on Texas, and it's translated into the NFL. There was a picture that was going around of him, you know, like he had all this dirt on his jerseys. Like, how did he have all this dirt on his jersey? He's playing on turf.
Yeah. It was
Like,
crazy.
how did he do that?
I saw that too. I was like, yeah, I like the kid. I like the
Yeah.
way he plays, the way the energy he brings. New York, I think the Giants need it. I think him and Dart are young, brash, they're full of piss and vinegar. They just want to win. And
Yep.
I'm glad. I think it's good for the New York Giants. I think it's gonna give Brian Dable a little bit more, a few more games in the NFL as a head coach. He might not be on the hot seat for the next few weeks if Jackson Dart can keep playing like that, even without Malik Neighbors. So let's wait and see. Before we move on to some MLB new playoffs and give our predictions and our preview about the playoffs, I want to talk to you about the Cowboys-Packers game that ended in a historic tie, 40-40. I know you watched the game. I will say
All
this.
of it, yeah.
George fucking Pickens woke up.
Yeah.
You got yourself a wide receiver in Dallas right now in George Pickens. I mean, I know CeeDee Lamb is injured. He's out for a couple of weeks, I think.
Yep.
But George Pickens, he balled out. And funny thing, he didn't even know a football game could end in a tie. He's like, I had no idea. Can you imagine you've been 3 years in the league, you have no idea that football game can end in a tie. I don't know if it was bullshitting or not, but looking past George Pickens right now, Dak Prescott is playing, I wouldn't say MVP caliber football right now, but he's balling right now. And if the defense can get their shit together in Dallas, they might have a chance. They might. But their defense needs to get their shit together. What's your thought on your Dallas Cowboys and this Packers game that ended up in a tie?
You know what, that comparison where you're like, oh, he's playing at such a high level, but only if the defense could be so much better. Like maybe they could get a playoff position. That kind of sounds like the Cincinnati Bengals from last year, doesn't it?
Exactly like the Cincinnati Bengals.
Man, I think Dak has been playing tremendous. He was the second half of that Bears game aside, like he's put in some performances, man. Like I know I'm a Cowboys fan, so maybe it's just me hyping it up, but man, I thought he was so efficient this past Sunday night, and he really kept that team in that football game. And you look at his stats here, 31 for 40 passing, 319 yards, 3 touchdowns. And clearly he's been able to set up a connection with George Pickens, which was huge.
Huge.
Because that was going to be the big thing with CeeDee Lamb gone with a high ankle sprain, is that they needed to establish the chemistry with Pickens. Mm-hmm. And boy, did they find that in this game. And so I thought Dak was fantastic throughout the game. And it's just unfortunate because the defense, I think, is this is a bad defense, Stefan. I don't know what else I could really say. The DBs don't look that hot. And
early in the game against the Packers, the Packers were doing absolutely anything they wanted to. That no one in the secondary. They're open after. It was insane. I was like, they just chunks of yards, 15 yards, 13 yards, 20 yards, just passing up the middle. No one there. Yeah, it was. They kind of calmed it down after a little bit in the second quarter, but in the first quarter, their defense was it was too easy for the Packers. Just too easy.
Yeah, it was just rough. That first drive, when you have 2 wide receivers open down the field, not one, but 2 open down the field, that's not good.
Yeah.
And the thing I've learned with Eberflus, now that we're a couple of weeks in as the defensive coordinator, that man does not like to blitz at all. They were mentioning on the broadcast, he does not blitz his guys at all. Barely. Like, I think he's like near last in the league in terms of blitzing. he loves his zone defense,
Mm-hmm.
and he loves like keeping his defense in zone. And I don't think it's been working quite well. I don't know if
It's
these
not
are
working at
the right
all.
players. Yeah,
I
I don't
mean,
think these are the right players to work in his personnel to work in his formation of what he wants on his
right,
defense. And so I will say though, and again, this might be a little bit of the Cowboys fandom coming through, but man, the way the Packers handled that last drive in overtime, they did not deserve to even tie that game. The clock management in the final, 30
yeah,
seconds where they went of the ball, they were so lucky that that incomplete pass was with 1 second left,
right,
because we would be having a different conversation about the Packers and how like if there wasn't a second left, it went right to zero. We're talking about how the Packers absolutely blew an opportunity to keep themselves in the game and ran out the clock. So they did tie it. This is the first tie that I can recall with the Dallas Cowboys in my fandom. So it was this weird feeling of like, oh, that's it.
right,
There's no more. We're done. And it's weird. I saw a lot of the conversation like, we can't end these games on a tie. Like, how can we end these games on ties? Like, well, you want us to go even longer? You want us to
right,
go to like, I'm okay with a tie, and if we're just like neither team, they've had so many opportunities, and like I would love for the Cowboys to have won. I wish they went for it on fourth down instead of kicking the field goal
right,
in overtime, because they would have guaranteed a victory there. But nonetheless, yeah, it was. I I'm pretty concerned about this defense, but I am happy with the way the offense has been looking so far. I just wish that they can be able to put it together. They're 1-2-1 right now. There is still an opportunity to try and reach that wild card. I'm still as somebody that like I'm pretty confident the Eagles are going to win the division. Um,
right,
but I think they could certainly, if they could put together enough string of performances and finish out some games. We just need this defense to step up, because otherwise we're just going to be the 2024 Cincinnati Bengals, just a 2025 version with the blue and white.
right. Well, let's hope for you as a Cowboys fan that they do,
For my mental
because
sake.
it would really, really suck if Dak Prescott has to, because I mean, he leads the league in passing yards right now, and
Yep.
he's balling, you know,
Yep.
and it really, really would suck if it ends up being something like the Cincinnati Bengals had last year, where Joe Burrow had an MVP type season, and it was just for absolutely nothing because their defense gave up 40 runs,
40 points a game.
40
Yeah.
points a game. Like,
I mean, practically 40 runs as well. I mean, that defense was just horrendous for Cincinnati.
so anything else you want to hit at on the NFL point before we move on to some MLB playoffs?
Quickly, I wanted to mention, did you see those tweets from AJ Brown after, I've never seen a team where there's like they have so much success and yet their wide receivers still putting out, little tweets being like, oh, if I'm not needed, then that's okay. Like, I will just keep my head down.
There's
It's just
something there's something off with AJ Brown. Ever since I caught
yeah,
him reading a book on the sideline, I was like, bro, I'm like, what are you doing? Like I just have a feeling that he just doesn't want to be there.
yeah, it's
Just
just
doesn't want to be
weird.
there. Maybe he doesn't want to play football anymore.
Maybe.
He
I
looks
don't
like
know. Like,
somebody that did some sort of like psychedelic trip, and he's like, "Oh, I don't need this in my life anymore. Like, I just want to read books and be zen."
yeah.
And like, it's weird. It's
Yeah,
weird.
look, nothing wrong with reading a book.
No,
It's
no,
just
no, no.
time
I'm
and a
not saying
place.
that.
Just in a time and a place. Don't read it on the bench.
Not
While
while
you're in the middle
you're
of a game.
playing an NFL football game and you're on the
Yeah.
bench, like in
Or,
a
like it'd be like if you're talking and I'm reading a book while we're doing this
right,
podcast. You know
like
what I mean? Just
yeah,
like
he's listening. He's paying
yeah,
attention for sure. He's paying
yeah. It's like
attention,
yeah,
right?
it's like it's nice of him to read, but maybe not right now while we're trying to do something here. You know?
I was disappointed that I watched the Bucks game, and I really thought Baker Mayfield could bring his Bucks back, but when he threw that interception, I was just like,
Yeah.
shit.
Yep.
I'm a huge Baker Mayfield fan, and I really wanted the Bucks to win, but it wasn't their night. Same thing with who else did I? Oh, I watched the Bears a little bit. They tried everything. They were looking good for a while, and then kind of like got away from them. But I still think that Caleb Williams looked good, better than he's looked in the past anyway, in the
Yep.
last few games. So there's some promise there. I guess I did jinx the Colts by saying that they'd be the last unbeaten team. I watched that game too, and then I was like, oh shit. But
there we go again, the blue collar sports curse.
I still think they're a good football team, though. I think that loss is not that bad. They still played really well. They can still clean up a few things, but yeah, I was like, oh man. I'm like, now there are before we go to NFL, I want to see something. How many undefeated teams left in the NFL? So we got the Bills at 4-0.
Yep.
And that's it for the AFC. So the only team in the AFC that's undefeated are the Bills. In the NFC, you got the Eagles at 4-0.
Yep.
And that's it. Okay, so you only have 2 teams now undefeated. Yep. Okay. Eagles
and again, if you look at AJ Brown's tweet, you wouldn't think that the Eagles were undefeated right now.
You think they're 1-3 right now. Like, yeah. He's so depressed. Like, you guys are 4-0. Just shut your mouth and just enjoy the ride. Like,
yeah. I hope it's because I am not a Sirianni fan. Like I have an Eagles buddy that like always tells me, oh, Sirianni's great and whatnot. And I get it. He's been to a Super Bowl, but like, I don't know. I still remember what happened a couple of years ago with the Bucks, where he had almost lost that team to the point where he almost lost his job.
Right.
And I'm like, and I will say he was able to get that team back on track, and obviously they were able to win a Super Bowl on that. So that's good coaching there. I have to give props where it's due, but like, I feel like I wonder if Sirianni is just such an abrasive personality that sometimes like you could tolerate him for so long, but if things aren't going your way,
right,
it just will dramatically fall off. That's what I'm wondering with Sirianni. Again, maybe the Cowboys fandom coming in, and I'm just tired of seeing all this Eagles success, and I just want to see some cracks, so.
I'm not a fan of the Eagles either, and I just feel like even though they're 4-0, it's like, I don't know if I'm seeing look, I didn't see them in the Super Bowl last year. I was kind of surprised that they made it. And because last year it was all about Jalen Hurts. I wasn't sure if I could trust Jalen Hurts in those playoff games. And I'm like, he's going to blunder. It's going to blunder. And then he just kept balling and kept going. And I was like, okay, maybe he's for real. And this year they start 4-0. The Bills are good, so it's really interesting. Only after week 4 now, only 2 teams left. So I'm not gonna make any predictions on who is going to be the last team standing here, because if I want
please say the Eagles, because then the curse will come in,
so
and then that
I'll
way
do it now. I think the Eagles will be the last undefeated team.
Yes, there we go. And, that's what I'm looking for.
Hopefully, this week they're playing. They playing this week?
Should be playing this week, I think.
Week 5, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
I know there's a couple teams that are already got the bye, which
they're playing the Broncos. So let's hope the Broncos.
Okay, that's gonna be a tough test. That's not gonna be easy for Phillies. So
they're playing Broncos at home. So
yeah.
Let's move on. Let's talk some baseball. That's what I've been excited about. That's what I wanted to talk about. I love football, but with the playoffs in season now starting today. Before I get to the playoffs, let's talk about those New York Mets. All right. So yes. I did save this thing here. It says, it's like, is it the same thing you saw? It looks like this. Okay, so
I didn't see that. I saw the commentators talking about the Marlins.
Those are all games. All right, you could see here. You probably can't see in the video how much. Okay, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. 23 games. A lot of these games, they were leading in the 9th inning. They're not all in the 9th inning. They're either up by 1. This one here, 3-0 against the Braves in top of the 5th. All these games, they all ended up losing those games.
Unbelievable.
They missed the playoff by 1 game. All they needed was 1 win, 1 extra win with all those 23 close games, some of them leading up into the 9th inning. They couldn't finish. And then they missed the playoffs. They just signed the biggest Juan Soto, the biggest contract, just not that long ago. Everybody had high hopes in New York, and they still managed to miss the playoffs. It's weird. It's weird because look, I get that there's a lot of good baseball teams. If you look in their division, if you look in the National League, there's a lot of good baseball team. I get, but if you look at their roster, man, that team should be a playoff team, don't you think?
Oh yeah,
Right?
absolutely. With the amount that they invested in, and
Right?
also too, like you saw the comments that Pete Alonso made, like immediately, like after the game was done, he's like, "I'm opting out my
I'm out
contract. I'm out."
right away. He's like, he didn't even wait a day. He's like, "Oh, we're
Nope.
done. All right, I'm not
I'm
opting in.
opting
Yeah,
out.
I'm out." Like, what?
Good
the
luck to you guys.
fuck? He's like, "I've had enough." Like
Yeah,
that tells a
playing for the Mets will do that.
right. So a bit disappointed. But again, I ain't a Mets fan, so I
Yeah.
couldn't care.
Did you see
less.
the commentators when the Marlins won their game? The commentators getting upset at the Marlins.
Really for
Oh,
winning
yeah.
the game?
Yeah, they were like, look at the Marlins celebrating like they won the World Series. I'm paraphrasing a little bit because they were taking team pictures after they beat the Mets, and yeah, it's like Keith Hernandez is speaking down and it's just like I can't believe they're getting team pictures. Like they're acting like they won the World Series. Essentially, was what they were trying to say.
A little sour
like,
grapes, a little bit. I
just
think
a little,
right,
just
a little bit.
Oh, it's like the Mets continue to be very entertaining in terms of what they give out. Like they just find different ways to like, in a weird way, like, you know, with some teams, like, they find different ways to give you heartbreak and it's just sad.
Right.
But for the Mets, there's just like a comedic value to how they do it. I can't put my finger on it. They just find a way to like rip the hearts out of their fan base. And
they were like on the line the whole season, like, oh, they're playing just good enough to make, and then they just fucking shit the bed at the end of the season. It's
just
like just blew it. And it's like, might as well just suck from the beginning, give zero hope to your fan base. They're like, we're gonna boo you the whole season, at least, you know. Yeah, it's sad a bit, I'll be honest. And I turn down these lights a bit. Holy moly, I'm sweating
feeling the heat.
buckets here. This small office. Tell me which series right now you're most excited about.
I'm very interested to see this Reds-Dodgers series.
Right.
With the way that the Reds have been able to get in. You know, we were talking about it last episode. It's like, man, I really want to see Ellie De La Cruz in the playoffs and just to see him compete. I saw this stat that was sent to me by a buddy, and it was about Mike Trout. And we were talking about how it's comedic, just how the Mets find different ways and, you know, hurt their fan base. This is the complete opposite, where it's like, man, this is just a travesty on multiple levels. Mike Trout has not seen the playoffs since 2014.
That's crazy.
11 years he has not been in a playoff spot. It's crazy. Like, he is the Felix Hernandez when he was playing for the Mariners. Like, at least Trout got to see a playoffs. I don't think Felix Hernandez ever saw a run in the playoffs at all.
No, I don't think he did.
When he was playing for the Mariners.
I don't think so.
So crazy, right? So I was worried with the way that the Reds kind of operate that it would be one of those scenarios where we would possibly never see Ellie De La Cruz get to that next round. So I'm glad to see him there. It is a tough task against the Dodgers, but I am fascinated to see it just to kind of see how the Reds do. You know, there's obviously the classic, Boston and New York series. That's always going to bring some, you know, both of those fan bases are going to clash with each other and they're going to make it known who's the better squad. And I think New York has to come in because I believe in the last 3 series in the playoffs have gone to Boston.
Yeah, they're dominating.
They dominate the Yankees. So this is a chance here as well for Aaron Judge to really kind of step up in the playoffs. I know that obviously they went to the World Series last year, but I think if they could beat like a rival that has kind of bested them in the playoffs so many times, if they're able to find a way to get past them, I think that'll be big for the Yankees going into the series.
Well, they're down 1-0 already.
Yes,
so
they are down 1-0.
They lost today, and it's a 3-game series. This is what I hate about the wild card is that you're getting these huge matchup like the Yankees and the Red Sox, and it's only 3 games, and you're like, shit, like. I really love to see these teams go at it for way more than 3 games. Makes it exciting, but it's not enough. Yeah. They had Crochet on the mound today. He went 7 2/3, gave up 4 hits, 1 run, 11 strikeouts. I mean,
That's what you want. That's what you want. And Garrett Crochet
yeah,
is somebody that's just been super dominant throughout the season. If they had to get past him if they wanted to show that they could be competitive, and Crochet was like, "Nope, I'm just gonna
yeah.
throw 11 strikeouts on you and play strong playoff baseball."
And the Tigers, Tarek Skubal went 7 2/3, same thing.
Yep.
Gave up 3 hits, 1 run, and struck out 14 today. And that
Yeah.
Detroit won 2-1. So
Yeah.
they're up in their series. Obviously, if I were to answer the same question I just asked you, I'm excited to watch the Red Sox and the Yankees because of the
Yep.
rivalry there.
Yep.
I'm excited to watch the Cubs and the Padres. So the Cubs won 3-1 today. Uh, I don't know who was their starter, but they played. I don't know why that series just interests me. I think the Cubs are a good baseball team. The Padres have been playing very well all season. I mean, they finished with a really good record, second in the NL West.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, I think the Cubs can do a lot of damage if they can really, really play well together, and if their starting rotation can give them a lot of, go deep, 5 6 innings, so that their bullpen and then get their closers in. So I don't
Uh-huh.
know. I think the Chicago Cubs and the Padres, but again, I'm looking forward to the Red Sox. I think the path is Red Sox, Yankees. Then you're gonna go probably the winner of that will probably face the Blue Jays,
Yep.
unless it's the Guardians that end up beating the Tigers. But I don't think, actually, no, that's not true, because the Tigers kind of shit the bed at the end of the season, right?
Yep.
So I don't know who. I gotta look into this a little bit more. But
Yeah.
the Dodgers
Because
are
the lowest ranked
right,
would take on the
right.
Jays, right? So if the Tigers are able to continue on with their path the way that their pitching was with Scooball today as we're recording, that would mean that if they win, then they would take on the Jays next.
Obviously, you're looking at the Dodgers and the Reds, and you like to see, like I said, we like to see Ellie De La Cruz in the playoffs. This young, exciting player, but that's a tough task to ask to in a 3 game series to go there and beat the Dodgers. Like,
Yep.
like their starting rotation is dangerous, and not to mention all the bats they have down the order. They're already up 1-0
Yep.
on a Shohei Ohtani home run, by the way. Like
Yeah.
in the in the bottom of the first, obviously.
Of
Uh,
course.
how else is Ohtani gonna start the playoff with a home run the
Right?
first inning, right? It's
Yeah.
like, um, now, do I think the Dodgers have an easy path to the World Series? I do not. I do not. I think it's going to be tough. Um, I think if you look at the Phillies that are waiting and the Brewers that are waiting, both really, really strong teams. I finished
Yep.
above the Dodgers this year. So, um,
Yeah, that NL side is strong.
very strong. Yeah.
Very strong.
I'm looking forward to the Phillies starting their playoff run. I really hope that they quickly get an opponent and they don't wait for too long, because again, I'm not a fan of the time off, especially at this time of year. You've been
Hmm.
playing baseball for 162 games, and all of a sudden you're going to stop for 4 or 5 days, depending on how long the wild card series goes before you. I've always been I've not been a fan of this format ever since it was implemented a few years back. So uh, I'm not confident that the Yankees are going to get past the Red Sox. Like I said, they're already down 1-0. The pitching rotation for the Red Sox definitely gives them a bigger chance on the 3 game series. I know their bullpen is not the strongest, but their starting pitching is definitely better than the Yankees right now with the
Hmm.
injuries and everything. And the bats have not been the best for the Yankees either towards the end of the season. They've been up and down. So um, I'm really excited to see what the Blue Jays can do. It's always like, oh yeah, the Blue Jays made it, and you're excited because they're a
Yep.
Canadian team, and it's great for the sport, and it's great for Canada.
Yep.
But then you look and you go like, oof, do they have the pitching rotation to do so? Bo Bichette not playing. Uh, Yeah, I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I know they finished
Yep.
first. They got the bye, but I wouldn't be surprised if we saw, whoever comes in to face them in a 5-game series, beat them, even though they finished first in the series. Do you have any confidence in the Blue Jays? Do you really think there's a path here to make it to the World Series?
It's tough. It's really tough to kind of buy in. I want to,
Right.
and especially with the way that they ended off their season. They took it right to the literal end of the season to secure their playoff spot in terms of winning their division and getting that bye into the ALDS. But they got it done. And if you're able to replicate that success into the playoffs, that should give you some confidence.
Right.
I think it really just goes back to you mentioned there with Bo Bichette, how he's going to look coming off of his injury. He says he's aiming to try and be back for the ALDS by the start of the series on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see if that kind of goes that way. I'm hopeful that he is. I'm still not confident in this bullpen to be able to rely on. I would hope if with the way that the bullpen has looked that you hope for similar performances from your starting pitchers that we've seen today here from your Tarek Scoobals and your Garrett Crochets, where you could get your guys that could take you 7 innings and then you can rely on your bullpen afterwards. Because that's going to be key, especially with management of your bullpen as well at this point in the playoffs. So I'm hopeful. The bats still you still got Vlad Guerrero Jr. You still have George Springer, who's been there before, won a World Series, knows how to play in the postseason. So that's going to be a big help as well. We'll see what they're able to do. They have exceeded my expectations all throughout the season, so why not continue to exceed my expectations going into the ALDS? But if you were to ask me today, I'm a little concerned that no matter who they face, whether it be the Red Sox or even the Yankees to an extent,
Mm-hmm.
although they did have performed very strong in the season series with the Yankees, that it might be tough going into the ALDS, but we'll see. I am glad that we do have Blue Jays baseball in October. I think it's good for the country, obviously. And the last time that this team went to the ALDS was in 2015, and that was a real fun run of Blue Jays teams there too. So I'm hoping we can at least replicate some of that. But there's a part of me that's worried that we're going to go back to the Blue Jays from a couple of years ago when they went to the playoffs. They just got absolutely thoroughly dominated when they were in the wild cards.
Yeah. I'm looking forward for the wild card to be over and then everything to just settle and all the teams to be in action starting this Saturday. It's gonna go by extremely fast. To start all these series start on Saturday. The Blue Jays are waiting, the Brewers are waiting, the Phillies, the Mariners. I'm excited to watch the Mariners. They finished the season extremely on a high note. I think Cal Raleigh should win the MVP. I know there's still talk that I know Aaron Judge had a great season, don't get me wrong, but it's not just about what Cal Raleigh did on the 60 home runs, hit the bat, the big dumper. Woo, yeah, but I saw a stat today that he didn't let one pass ball all season behind the plate. It was him and another catcher. He's not just offensively, but defensively might be one of the top catchers in the game. So you kind of have to look at that. I think for me, he would get my vote. But again, what do I know? But I'm really.
It's probably going to be super close.
Yeah, it's probably going to be super close,
it's
right?
Probably a split vote between those two. I can hear arguments for both.
Absolutely.
I've heard the arguments for Judge. He's had a tremendous season and he leads in a bunch of different statistical categories batting. But to me, it's just with Cal Raleigh, it's you also have to put it in perspective. I mentioned it on the show before, but the guy's doing this as a switch hitting catcher.
Yeah.
Full-time catcher duties. That's not something to scoff at, right? So yeah, it's going to be interesting. I do wonder how the voters will go in baseball and where they decide to go with the MVP. I've heard it all. I've heard everybody say. I heard a bunch of people say they're voting Cal Raleigh. I've heard a bunch of others say they're voting Aaron Judge. So that AL MVP race is looking very, very interesting.
Yeah. I'm going to wait to give a little bit more of my opinion and predictions. But because the wild card, like I said, these 3-game series, it doesn't matter how good you are sometimes. It's
Yep.
just one bad game, you're down 1-0, you're like, oh shit, now I got to win 2 in a row, right? And
Yeah.
it's like it's rough. So
Yep.
I'm excited for Saturday. I'm excited for the weekend to see all these teams be done with the wild card. I'm expecting the Dodgers over the Reds. I'm expecting the Tigers over the Guardians. I'm expecting, some would have said the Padres, but I don't know why. I just have this feeling about the Cubs. I probably jinxed them, probably cursed them, whatever you want to call it. I think the
Yep.
Cubs are going to win over the Padres, and I think the Red Sox are going to win over the Yankees. And then moving forward, it'll just be, you know, look, I think the Brewers are very strong. I think the Phillies, I mean, the Phillies are a really good baseball team. Pitching, they got Cal Schwarber, Bryce Harper, all these guys, top to bottom, really strong. Um, Again, the Mariners were, of all the teams going in with the most momentum going into the playoff, I think we could say the Mariners were at the highest. I think they won
Yep.
like almost like 9 out of the. I forget how they finished the season, but they finished pretty strong. So
Yep.
maybe next week, once the dust has settled on the wild cards, we can go through it again and give a little bit more detailed predictions with the 5-game series and then moving forward. Because, like I said, I enjoy playoff baseball, but these wild cards to me is like it's a coin flip almost, because in a 3-game series, you definitely have to give the advantage to the ones that have the best pitching rotation. It doesn't mean they have the best pitching rotation altogether, but in a 3-game
Yep.
series, 2 out of 3 games, you send your ace out there, it's over, right? And
Yep.
now you could quickly move on. So we'll wait and see. Still a lot of baseball left to be played, and
Yep.
extremely excited for this time of year. Before I let you go, Zach, I did want to ask you a question and get your props. Do you think Sidney Crosby is going to finish the season as a Pittsburgh Penguin?
Ooh, I wasn't expecting this question. I like it. Yes, I do think he will
Right.
finish the season as a Pittsburgh Penguin. There's always been the talk in the offseason, oh, is he going to get traded? Is he going to go? Like you hear from, I imagine a lot of Habs fans in your area
Yeah.
are
That's
percolating at the idea that it's going to be Sidney
right.
Crosby going to Montreal. I mean, look, it's not out of the realm of possibility that, a player that you commonly associate
Right.
with one team would eventually get traded away. For me as a Sens fan, I never thought I'd see Daniel Alfredsson in a different jersey, and he ended up wearing, a Red Wings jersey in
Right.
his final year before obviously retiring as a Senator. And Mike Modano for the Dallas Stars also retired as a, Detroit Red Wing, funny enough as well. So can't rule it out, but I think it would be, I think he's too much associated with the Penguins, and I don't see him getting traded away. I think he's going to stay in Pittsburgh and be a Penguin for the rest of his career. He'll retire as a Penguin, and I think it'll be one of those things that you can look back on as like, oh, he's one of those elite players that stayed with one team. But it's hard to avoid a lot of the talk about Crosby being traded or whatnot. But even if the series, even if the Penguins, get a downturn this year, and I do expect them to
Yeah,
not be.
I don't think they'll be a good hockey team this year.
Yeah, I'm not super high on the Penguins. They've got a bunch of stuff that they've got to deal with. They've got an aging core and
Yeah.
and all this, so I'm not confident in them being able to even get into a playoff spot.
No.
But I still think even with that, I would just have a tough time seeing Sidney Crosby get traded. I'd just be tough to see.
I know his agent, is it Pat Brisson, his agent,
Yep.
right? He said that he really wants, it's the talking point has been that he expects and wants Sidney Crosby to be in the playoffs, to play for a playoff contender. Either it be Pittsburgh, but like we said, I don't think it'll be Pittsburgh, because I don't think Pittsburgh will be a playoff contender this year, a Stanley Cup contender at last, I think is what he said. And then it makes you think, well, if that's the case, then, and if he does get traded, like, would he come to Montreal? I know Montreal has a young team and they're looking, they have a lot of potential, but are they a Stanley Cup contender this year, next year? Like, I don't think so. So then you go like, well, where could he go? Colorado, maybe? Go play with his friend McKinnon and all those places.
Yep.
I'm like you. I have a hard time believing that he'll end up as. I don't think I could ever see him in a different jersey than the Pittsburgh Penguin. I mean, I've been a Penguins fan for my whole life, from Mario Lemieux to Jagger to all the bad years in between to Sidney Crosby getting drafted and then
Malkin,
like
Chris Letang.
I think we'll see Malkin leave before Crosby.
Yep, I could see that.
But yeah, I'm having a hard time believing that we'll see Crosby. But hey, I've seen weirder things happen in sports, so
yep. Hey, Wayne Gretzky got traded, right? Like while he was with the Oilers. That's not out of the realm of possibilities. So, and he promised Messi wouldn't do it when he was crying on the podium. But I don't know if we're gonna get something similar with him and Malkin saying, "I promise Evgeny I'm not going to do this."
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I just have a tough time really wrapping my head around it. It just feels the only reason why they would trade him is if they think they could get a bunch of assets for him in return.
But that's the thing. Like for example, the talk that I heard from the Montreal Canadiens, because I listened to TSN 690 here.
Yeah.
And it's like some people are saying they're going to have to give up a guy like Demidov. And I'm like, you can't give up a guy like that for a 38-year-old.
You can't give up Demidov for Crosby. Like, no, absolutely not.
Like, no, like straight up. It's so stupid. You're going to get some draft picks. That's all you're going to get back in return is some draft picks.
We saw with the Marchand trade to Florida that it took a 2026 fifth rounder or something like that to get rid of Marchand. Look at how much he was a performer for Florida when he got traded.
Big reason why they won the Stanley Cup.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Now Marchand, I think Crosby is a much better player than Marchand.
Right.
I would love to have Marchand on my team, but in terms of pure skill, like I think Crosby is the much more skilled player, and so you would demand more in return. But like, no, the Habs are not getting rid of Demidov. If as a Sens fan, I would say go ahead and trade Demidov for Crosby if you really think you're going to win. Yeah. But if I'm putting on my neutral hat and just be like, no, that's not going to be the case. Yeah. But that doesn't surprise me a lot of Montreal radio. I just remember when PK Subban got traded and to Nashville.
Yeah,
and the radio hosts there were just like laughing and just like, oh, does Nashville even have a hockey team? Right. Why would PK go to the Predators and stuff like that? It's like, oh, I do enjoy their passion for the team there, but no. We'll see. I don't see Crosby getting traded. It would have to be some sort of assets coming back. That would be Pittsburgh saying, all right, we are committing fully to a rebuild here. And I don't know if Dubas, because Kyle Dubas is there now, and he's been in that role for a couple of years. I don't know if he's willing to commit and say, all right, we're going to blow things up and do a full rebuild unless he's got ownership approval. But I just don't see it.
I agree. I think we'll see Sidney Crosby in the Pittsburgh jersey for the rest of his career. Zach, it was always a pleasure talking with you about sports and all different things. We'll talk again next week for another episode of Blue Collar Sports. Don't forget, subscribe, SVG TV on YouTube. Don't forget to check us out now, available on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify, the audio version of Blue Collar Sports. I'm Savage Paulson on Instagram. He's Zach McGibbon Media on Instagram. And thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next week for another episode of Blue Collar Sports.